Black Friday is here, and with it, the moment you've been waiting for. My incredible Black Friday deal on my Start Your Podcast program is here, but it will not last forever. For the first time ever, I am offering my core group program with a 5-pay option, making it easier than ever to get started with your podcasting journey. And remember, you have the flexibility to choose from 2 start dates in early 2024 so that it fits seamlessly into your plans. This is your chance to turn your podcasting dreams into reality, and the time to act is now. Don't hesitate. The deal ends on the 30th of November at 9 p.m. UK time, and spots are limited. Head over to donnaeade.com/BFO right now to secure your spot on the Start Your Podcast program. Make this Black Friday the day you commit to your podcasting goals. Get started on your podcast journey today. Visit donnaeade.com/BFO. That's Bravo Foxtrot Oscar. Take advantage of this unbelievable Black Friday deal before it's gone. Don't let this opportunity slip through your fingers. Act now and make 2024 the year that your podcast takes off. You're listening to the Mindset and Action podcast, bringing you the map to grow and streamline your business in 2023. I'm your host, Donna Eade, your go-to gal for all things podcasting, planning and productivity. And I'll be bringing you all that plus mindset goodness from experts with knowledge to share. Let's make 2023 the year of success in your business. When everything is important, nothing is important. Gino Wickman. Welcome to the podcast, everyone. I cannot believe we are in the episode 190s. It's amazing, and I am so pleased that you are still here with me listening every week. So give yourselves a pat on the back for that. Make sure that you share this episode with your friends so we can reach more people. Today I have got a guest with me. His name is Scott Goodrich, and we had such a good conversation about podcasting, about the Entrepreneurial Operating System, and all sorts of other goodness. So I hope that you will enjoy this conversation with Scott. He also has a podcast called the Grow Your Damn Business podcast. So make sure you go over and have a listen to that as well once you have listened to this one, obviously. And let me know your thoughts on social media. You know where to find me, Donna_Eade_. Really interested to know what you take away from this episode. I've got so many exciting things to come. I think I'm actually going to do a little mini episode that is going to drop on a Monday to let you know some of the things that are coming up. So look out for that one, possibly next Monday. But let's take a listen into this conversation with Scott. Welcome to the podcast, Scott. I am so excited to be having this conversation with you today. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Donna. I'm so happy to be here. I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be a good conversation. I'll feel it in my waters. So first of all, before we jump into conversations, can you let the listeners know a little bit about who you are and what it is you do, a little bit about your background?
Absolutely. Yes. I've got a couple things that I do. Primarily, I work with small business owners and entrepreneurs to really help them get their arms around their business. I do that through using some of the tools in the Entrepreneurial Operating System, or EOS. That it is based on a book written about 20 years ago called Traction. And if you're a small business owner or entrepreneur, just a high recommend that you grab that book and read it. You'll definitely grab something from that. And then what I do is I work with companies that want to take it a step further and really get the coaching and the training and the teaching around some of the nuances associated with implementing EOS into your business. So that's what I do most of the time. As you and I talked about, I also do have a podcast where I interview entrepreneurs and let them tell their story. It's really about tales of those with an overnight success that takes many years, because that's what having a business is all about, is that growth. And then last but not least, my wife and I own a small business here in Arizona. It's a haircut and color business. So entrepreneur myself, so I've got a business, coach a business, and then talk to others about their businesses.
I love it. I love it. That's fantastic. So lots going on for you. I think what I would like to do is start with talking about your podcast because, I teach podcasting. So it's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
my thing. So I love to find
absolutely.
out a little bit about other people's podcasts and what got them started. So let us know, how long has your podcast been going? What's it called? And
Sure.
why did you start it?
So we just released episode 25 last week. So we've done one a week since early June. So 25 episodes once a week. The podcast is called Grow Your Damn Business. And just the reason we call it that one is oftentimes when I'm talking to business owners, sometimes it's their damn business because they've reached a point of frustration and it's a struggle, or sometimes they're excited about it. It's like, yeah, I got this damn business, right? So just trying to play on that a little bit. And it is an offshoot of what we call our small business, which is get your damn haircut. So we use that same thing there. And I started the podcast. Really, I was on a podcast talking about what I do as a business coach implementing EOS, and just got super excited about the platform and the format, and said, wow, I'm having some good conversations with people about their companies. Would it be great just to feature those conversations on this cool format? So that's what got me started recently. Now, if you go all the way back in my history, I have done some radio way back when, and primarily talking about sports, or actually doing some play-by-play of some college sports events. And so I kind of just like had this affinity for the medium. It just now shows up in the podcast world, which is a little bit easier for all of us to find our way onto a platform.
Absolutely. And I think that's a common thread that I've actually heard from quite a few people, is that they either wanted to be on radio or they've had some sort of connection to radio and just saw the podcasting platform as a way to kind of get into that and be in control of it themselves. So they're not sort of reliant on a company behind it doing it. It's for themselves. So I love that you've got that connection as well, and fancied yourself as a bit of a sports commentator back in the day.
Well, I thought so. That was what I always wanted to do when I was coming up as a kid. So I did a bunch of that, just to myself, actually. Ironically, just thought that was fun. I would mimic what I heard on the television or on the radio, and did that, and then got in, like I said, got into it in college a little bit, and had a chance to do that on a very, very small scale, but and thought that was going to be the way to go. I ended up changing gears along the way, and I would say that at the same time I was doing that, I was actually doing some coaching, and the coaching theme is the one that won out. So regardless of whether I am coaching other businesses or was working for a company and doing things for a company, the theme of coaching is the one thing that has always sort of been there, been ever present, and became the dominant thing that was for me what mostly that probably comes from my mom, who was a teacher, and my own interest there. I mean, there's probably some other ties there, but yeah, the coaching theme is the strongest one for sure.
Yeah, I love that. I actually wanted to be a teacher myself when I was little.
Yeah.
That was my dream as a 7-year-old. Bless my heart.
Yeah. and I admire it, and I have it all around me. So and so admire the profession, and I have dabbled in it from time to time. I may find myself back there at some point in time. There's nothing better than having that opportunity to get in front of a group of folks and share with them something they may not have heard, and watch them put that into practice. And it comes with many, many challenges to it, but just that upside, which you can see with that. And so whether I'm working with a company to do that, or even having an interview, right? You learn something, you're having a conversation, or I can share even with a guest something that may help them, or they share something that may help me. Like there's that process of learning and sharing with others, and watching sort of that light bulb go off is really rewarding. And I continue to find myself attracted to opportunities where that can happen. So yeah,
I'm with you 100%. 100%. It's something that I absolutely love about teaching podcasting. Like, I know I'm not doing the teaching that I originally thought I was going to do, but it's the light bulb moments and seeing people being able to implement something themselves and going, I got it. I can figure it out. It's magic to me. So I love that.
It's beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. And you're doing it, right? You just found a different way to do it, but you're still doing it. I think that's the one thing that I've really taken from this work that I've done over the last year or so is just been that, look, it doesn't always show up in the way that you think it's going to, but the activity that you so enjoy, the thing that you find your purpose and what you get your purpose from, right, will show up in the way it is. So you've got this purpose about sharing knowledge and teaching. You just have found this platform in which to do it. And I find that to be very much the case with a lot of folks I work with in this space.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So with your podcast, is it something that you have help with? Because I know this is something that a lot of people think that podcasters have a team of people behind them and, you know, they just go and do the recording. I know when I first started, or before I started, that's what I assumed. I thought it was literally like a radio station type setup where you hired a studio, had sound techs doing all the jargon, and I had no idea that you could do it from the comfort of your own room.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's your setup with your podcast?
Yeah, interesting. So one of the tools that we teach to our clients, I actually utilize in developing my podcast as well. And the tool is called Delegate and Elevate. And it really is about making sure that you're spending the time on the things that you're really good at and that you like to do. And when you can, delegating the things that you don't like to do and are not very good at to others, because most of the time there are others who really like to do the things that you don't like to do. Right. Yeah. And so you find those folks. So from the very beginning, I made this choice. I said, if I'm going to go into podcasting, I am not going to be the editor of this. I'm willing to find the guests, have those conversations, do the interviews. Like that part of it, I find I like to talk to folks. And I was, as I mentioned, having some of these conversations. So that's what I like to do. I think I'm pretty good at it. So I spend my time there, but all of the back end stuff, I actually from the beginning decided that I was going to delegate that out. And I've done it with a couple different companies along the way, still learning about what is the right balance between what I do and what they do. But that was a choice I made from the get-go. It certainly was an investment in the effort as well. Nothing like that comes without a cost to it, but it was a cost I was willing to pay because of where I wanted to spend my time. And I feared two things. One, if I didn't have that, the podcast wouldn't be going and I wouldn't have gotten through the episodes that I've gotten through to this point in time. And two, I would get so wrapped in it that I wouldn't like to do it. And I would be spending time on something I didn't enjoy. And so I didn't want that. I didn't want the format that I enjoyed to become that labor that I didn't like. So that's the choice I've made from the beginning. And I'm candidly not sure I would continue if didn't have the resources to have that the folks handled some of that back end work for me. I know myself well enough to know I need that support.
Yeah, I love that. It's good to know those things. And I think where you said that you know that that's not your forte and the talking is, does that also then translate into the thing that you find the most fun about podcasting versus the thing that you absolutely despise?
It does. It does for sure, right? Because the conversations and those opportunities to meet new folks, learn, share ideas, maybe teach a little bit, right? That to me is always going to be the thing that I enjoy the most. I still hold on to a couple of things I don't like to do. I would love to be able to turn over all of the social media to someone that also not my forte. So it's definitely on the don't like to do part of my list. I can do it. So it's not that I don't have the ability. I just don't like to do it that much. So I do it in bits and pieces. It's not as consistent as I'd like to do. That would be the next thing for me to move off my plate, would be just the sharing of all of these wonderful conversations I'm having and trying to gain attention and being consistent with the posting across all the platforms. That it's not a thing I'm great at, but I still do a little bit of that. I've not outsourced that or have that on someone else at this point in time.
Yeah, I think that's something that all podcasters could be better at, if I'm gonna sort of put my hat in the ring and draw a line somewhere, because it's crazy. I always talk to my guests, and when I'm educating guests and talking to people about guesting on podcasts, I'm always saying, you know, as a host of a podcast, I've got a new episode out every week. And so there's only so much time that I've got available to promote an episode that you're on. But you aren't necessarily going to be on a new episode every week, which means you've got the opportunity to share it again and again. And the way you will stand out in a podcaster's mind, if you are resharing your episode, you are so much more likely to get back on for a second go.
Absolutely. Or just get known as others. Yeah, I've had the opposite happen. It's really painful for the host to have this conversation. I've had a couple guests that have been on my show They asked to come on. I reviewed their background, said, okay, this does fit with what we're trying to do. So it's within sort of the target market and target audience of what we're trying to reach. And that after I hosted them, that was the last I heard from them. And I mean, this happened to you, Don, on any of your shows, but it's like, well, I committed this time and energy and effort here, and that you can't even take a step of, having a post and tagging someone. I mean, that's the only way we're going to get this out there. People are, and I suppose they could discover it, by happenstance, right? Going through a platform, but it's unlikely to do that. You've got to get it in front of the audience that you spend time with, whether that is Instagram or LinkedIn or choose your favorite social media platform. So really tough. So just speaking from the host side, if you do decide to do some guesting as well, like you've got to participate. You've got to take it and do that. You can't just let it be. It's not a good reflection of the experience that you had. So
absolutely.
I try to do that when I am a guest, because I know what it's like to be on the other side.
Exactly. 100% agree. So with your podcast, is it the why behind it? Was it something that you did because you wanted to promote your business through it? Is it something you use for your business? Kind of what are the benefits that you see of podcasting when it comes to connecting it to your business?
Yeah, so certainly up to this point in time, it has really been just this opportunity to highlight guests. And I have been told that you probably could use a little bit more of you and a little bit less of the guests. I really do try to put the guests on the platform and let them tell their story and share what they've learned along the way with the audience, with the intent that anyone listening will grab a couple of nuggets that they can then use. Maybe they're experiencing the same thing as what that guest may have gone through, or they can reach out to that guest for further conversations. So that's really why I started was to give that platform. I think along the way, having that platform is an opportunity for some credibility, right? I mean, I'm trying to work with business owners, and if there's something that they are challenged with, and I've done an episode around it, I say, hey, have you listened to my podcast? Credibility about that topic. It may be of interest to you, and we can talk further about it. So that was really more of a passive way to share my business. I am thinking about how to be a little more intentional going forward. Just to say, okay, am I talking to folks that actually are really in the kind of people that I would want to work with as a coach, and have them come on, still give them that same platform, but does it also allow me to take that conversation one step further and have it be part of a broader way to develop future clients? Trying to figure that one out, John. I don't think I've cracked the code on that, because I do want at the core of it still to be about the guests and hearing their story.
I understand completely, because I'm very much the
challenge,
same.
Right? I'm sure, because you're like, you want to invite someone on and have them have a good experience. And that's what I want. I certainly would never want to invite someone on and pitch on my stuff. Like, that doesn't feel very good, right?
No.
So there's some passive, being passive too. And so if I can figure out a way to walk that line between it being all about the guest and then there being something there that could be a benefit longer term, I would hoping to strike it. But I guess I'll have a few trials and mistakes, and we'll learn from them and try it again. So I'm thinking differently as I go into 2024 about what that might look like.
Brilliant. Okay, and what is the podcast again, so everybody can go and listen?
Sure. It's called Grow Your Damn Business, and we're gonna be adding a little subtitle which refers to really it's tales of businesses, overnight success stories that are years in the making, right? Because there are no overnight success stories, and we really do talk about businesses not growing in a straight line and hitting ceilings, and how they responded, what did they learn, they fell backward, how do they get moving forward again? So it's going to have that as a little extra source of emphasis, that these people talk about successful entrepreneurs, but it really is this up and down, almost like an EKG of performance, and it's never the straight growth line. And understanding that, appreciating it, and learning about what worked and what didn't along the way.
Yeah, for sure. So I will link that in the show notes for you guys, so you can go and find it on any good podcast player, but it will be linked in the show notes as well. Now let's move on to what it is that you do, this coaching. You've spoken about EOS a little bit already. Sure. Explain to us what it is and how you work with your clients.
Yeah. And so when we talk to any entrepreneur. Let's just go sort of broader level there. There are really three things that if you're going to own and run your business, there are three things that you should really think about having to make a true go of it. And you've got to consider this as part of your investment. The one is you do need a personal coach. You should have someone that you can look to, a mentor, someone that you trust, maybe someone you worked with in the past before you started your business, maybe it's someone you pay, whatever it is, but have that mentor. Yeah, that's the first thing. Second, have a group of people that you can bounce ideas off of. We call them peer groups, but you can join them officially or unofficially, but having a peer group of other business owners, super valuable. And then the third thing is you need to run your business on an operating system. And that operating system is just going to allow you to build consistency in your business. It's going to build discipline. It's going to make sure that you have the right people and you're holding them accountable. And ultimately, it's going to allow you to scale that business. So what I do is in the third bucket, and the operating system that we teach clients to use and then coach them on how to use is called EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, created by Gino Wickman. Gino wrote the book Traction and laid out how an entrepreneurial business can succeed and how to run day to day, week to week, month to month using these principles and tools. And so from there, we now have about 700 people across the globe who teach EOS and what we say implement EOS in small privately held businesses, typically between 10 to 250 employees. That's kind of our right market. And these business owners are frustrated. They're stuck. They're lacking in profit. They're working too many hours for too little return. They thought they'd have this flexible lifestyle because they're their own boss, and it ended up costing them all this time with their family and friends or whatever. We want to help them get their arms around it, get a grip on it, and use a system, not software, but a true way to run your business day in, day out. That's really what EOS is at its core, is really helping those business owners understand what they want from their business and then helping them get there. And that can go anywhere from growing it to maintaining it to looking to sell it. We find people in all of those different stages of the business life and can help them achieve that what they're really trying to get after.
I love that. And I think it's really important. So for me, some of my listeners are brick and mortar businesses and would fall into that category of having some employees, although a lot of my listeners are solo entrepreneurs. So for those people who are in brick and mortar businesses, what are some of the key areas that they need to sort of look at when it comes to implementing an operating system? Or what are the sort of things that we're looking at fixing?
For sure. Yeah. So the themes that we'll talk about, then I'll point to some of the more specific things, but the themes we talk about when we're talking to business owners is first helping them to really clarify their vision. Where are you going and how do you plan to get there? And that actually applies for your solopreneurs as well. Look, I'm also a solopreneur as well as running a business, right? So I use these same principles. So where you're going, how you're going to get there, right? So laying that out, getting traction in the business, which really just means executing with discipline and accountability. So holding yourself accountable if you're a solopreneur, but that vision and then traction. And lastly, just making sure that you're building a healthy team. So yes, if you're adding people, being healthy, but there's also something about being mentally healthy if you're a solo, right? You only got yourself to look after, but that's still important. So vision, traction, and healthy are really the three unique associated with EOS and the things we spend time on. In terms of the structure of EOS, it's based on strengthening 6 components. So we've touched on several of them already, but one is the vision component. 2 is people. If you do have people, making sure that you've got the right ones. 3 is data. So making sure that you're running your business on facts and figures and not your gut, which a lot of us tend to do, right? We have instincts, which we trust, but having the data there, understanding all the issues that you have in your business and solving them. Do you have processes that are consistent and scalable? And then lastly, do you have that traction? Do you have a way to make sure that you're staying disciplined? So those 6 components are the core components associated with EOS. And everything that we do is to teach tools and techniques to strengthen those 6 components. And we lay out a way that we introduce a tool that's linked to those components and help you strengthen that along the way. And that really will apply for solo as well as for folks that have employees.
And you have your own brick and mortar with
I
the
do. Yep.
salon. So
Yep.
how have you implemented EOS over there? Can you tell us maybe a story
Absolutely.
of something that you've
For
done over
sure.
there with EOS that's
Yeah. Yeah.
people can
There's a
visualize?
couple of things for sure. Yeah. A couple of things. Since most businesses, people issues represent the majority of the issues. We typically say that 60 to 70% of the challenges within growing a business are some way associated with people.
Mm.
And so I'll just share in we're no different, right? We've got at any one time somewhere between 12 and 15 employees, just depending on that. We're a little bit seasonal with where we're located. Um, so making sure that you've got the right people doing the right things, what we call right people, right seats. And we borrow that from Jim Collins. If you've ever read Jim Collins in Good to Great, pretty popular book for business owners, that another recommended reading, Good to Great. But right people, right seat means this. The people that you hire are aligned with your core values, who you are, what you're about, what you care about. You have that alignment. They fit the core values like a glove. And then secondly, they actually can do the work that you've hired them to do. That's right seat, right? They have the skills, they have the certifications, they have the experience to do that. You have to have both. And if you're missing one or the other, you're going to have a people problem at some point in time. So we ran into this, and we ran into it actually on both fronts. The bigger problem that we had with one employee in particular was that we're absolutely in the right seat. This individual could do everything that we needed someone to do in our salon. We asked them to do a lot because we cut all types of hair. We do all types of hair coloring. So we really do run the spectrum. Absolutely had that skill set. But from a cultural standpoint, this was a wrong person. And the danger was twofold. Not only was there danger and you have to spend more time managing wrong people than you do anybody else, right? Managing right people is easy. They agree with you. They're in line with you. They believe in the same thing you believe in. So that's a little bit simpler. But when they're a wrong person, not only is it tough to manage them, but they actually act as a cancer within the organization because they're going to bring down others that may actually be right people because they try to get away with stuff. They'll say things. They'll start trouble. And we let this go because we were struggling financially. And this person was really good. They were really strong as a right seat and were one of our top producers. So small business, struggling financially, you have this person that's actually generating revenue for the business more so than others, but is this problematic person. And we ultimately did part ways. We took too long, lesson learned. Solve that problem sooner rather than later. You'll find another way to replace the revenue, but the damage being done by a wrong person is significant. And if you do have employees and you sense that you've got someone that's not aligned there, my recommendation is always act faster than you think to, right? Hire slow, fire fast. Like you need, and don't say that to be mean, but you're actually doing that person a disservice as well. Because if they're not aligned with the core values, they're also unhappy. And that's why they're saying or doing things that aren't aligned with what you do. So give yourself both a break, have the painful 1 minute conversation instead of the ongoing painful over and over conversations about the same problem. You should know better, right? But we got thrown off by what was happening because the person was technically and very sound as a producer. And when you're small, that's not that many employees. When you're small, it hurts to say, oh, there's X% of my revenues tied up in this one person. They're really good at it. And it might find this with a salesperson, right? A salesperson that's really good at selling, but they don't represent your company in the right way. But boy, they're really good at selling. You look around, well, how am I going to replace those sales?
Yeah.
You'll replace them because that person, if they're not that right for you, they don't have that alignment with your core values. You're gonna find out the hard way how difficult that is.
Yeah. Yeah, it actually reminds me of a story, a time when I was working as a receptionist for a dental company. And oh my gosh, one of the hardest jobs ever. I don't know if it's the same in America, but in the UK here, we have the NHS. So, dental care is free for most people or subsidized, but it is really, really bad. It's worse than the doctors and hospital kind of scenario where there is just not enough NHS dentists. They get much more money if they do it private. So most of them are private and they have a small amount of seats for NHS. That aside, it's a nightmare. And it means that, you know, people get kicked off the list if they miss 2 appointments and then they can't get a dental appointment. So there's all these aggravated in pain, tooth pain, one of the worst pains you can have. And as the receptionist, I got it in the ear daily from clients that appointments were being cancelled because the dentist decided they were going on holiday but didn't bother to let us know in advance. And these appointments were booked 6 months ago because we tell everybody to book their 6-month appointment.
Absolutely.
And all of this absolute nightmare. I remember one time I had a guy call me back 3 or 4 times shouting abuse at me, and then he got his girlfriend to phone and then he was shouting abuse in the background and I came off those calls shaking. And so it was a very hard place to work. But then every lunchtime we'd go upstairs and the dental nurses who didn't get that kind of abuse because they were in the rooms with the dentist. So, you know, by the time they were in a room, they're getting their treatment. So they're pretty happy. And they would be complaining like you wouldn't believe about, oh, I need a new job. Oh, I hate it here. And it just compounded on me to the point where I was like, I'm out. I can't do this anymore. It was just such a horrendous environment for me to be in. And all of these people that were just sitting there, excuse my French, bitching about their jobs every lunchtime, all for the whole hour. It was horrendous.
I mean, what an environment, right? I mean, just take that into any place. And so, you know, one, that's not going to help with your employee retention if you're a business owner, if you've got that problem going on, right? Why would anyone, that's a hard thing anywhere. I mean, finding good people and holding on to them is super difficult for a business. And so you want to make sure that you've got that environment that's there. And it's, if you're creating that environment, stuff, you know, sounds like there may be some other forces at play here, but yeah, you're not feeling good about it. They're not feeling good about having you there. No one, like, one as an individual, why would you subject yourself to that? Like, if you're not enjoying it, there's other things out there that you can find and do. So I actually encourage folks that I will coach when they're looking for a job. I'm saying, make sure you understand what that company's about just before you say it. I know it's good to be employed and you want to have the income, and I get all that, but do they align with your core values? Like, are you going to go in and be the fish out of water? Right. Because if you're going to go into that environment, well, you're going to be looking for another job in 6 months to a year anyway, because you're going to quickly find out that you hate it there. Yeah. So do the due diligence as someone looking for a job as much as someone looking to hire. It cuts both ways. And when you can gain clarity of that for yourself, either as the person hiring or as the person seeking employment, you're going to be much better off, have a much longer staying power, and really get a lot more satisfaction from the time you're spending in the work that you're doing. So, I think that the core values conversation, and the sad thing about that is oftentimes core values are something that you put on a wall and you leave them there, you make a nice poster, and that's the last time you ever talk about them. And so when we're working with our clients, we actually have the core values conversation very frequently, and we provide our clients with a tool to actually assess, are all the folks that I have working for me aligned with my core values? It's a 1-page analyzer that we utilize with our clients and encourage them to keep going back to it to make sure that that still holds true. One, do the core values still make sense? But also, are the folks that I've got here still aligned? And it's active, and it's something you revisit, and you don't just pay it lip service, to use the term, but you're actually living those core values in a very real way, and you're using them to hire and to fire and to reward. Well, it makes all the difference, and it's going to create the working environment that you want because you've created this business, so it should be a reflection of what you want. Why would you bring in a bunch of folks that are unhappy? It makes the whole thing, feel. No one's enjoying it, and it all works against you. So, when we do a core values exercise, because we will help a company discover those core values, we really dig into it and say, don't make them catchy things. Are they real? Is this really what you're about? And are you willing to say, if it's not this, I'm going to make a change? That's a different conversation about core values than just saying, well, we value integrity. Okay, good to know you aren't going to hire any thieves, but is that really what you're about? Or is that just something that you expect and you're going to actually bring in something real around what it is that you care for, that you stand for? And we actually dig into that at a pretty in-depth level with our clients.
I think it's really important too, and I think it's great that you do that. So obviously we've spoken about EOS within a bricks and mortar environment and within sort of a business where there are employees, and you have said that it's applicable to the solopreneur. So I wondered if you could tell us how you use it for yourself in your business as a solopreneur and how we might be able to benefit from that as solopreneurs.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can grab some of these tools right out of the book Traction. So if you haven't read it yet, strong encouragement to do so. And I'm more than happy to provide a copy for any listener that would be interested in it, just to get their hands on the book. There's a couple of things that will help you right away. One of the things that any solopreneur figures out quickly is that there's a ton of stuff to do all the time. Right, because you're doing everything to get your business going. So whether you're a coach or maybe a private practice attorney or whatever that thing is that you're doing it yourself, you're easily distracted because you're responsible for so many things. And so there's a couple tools that we utilize to make sure that you're always working on the most important thing at the time that you need to work on it. So prioritization is so critical. So on a week-to-week basis, we encourage clients to make sure they have a scorecard that is reflective of the activities that need to happen week to week to reach the long-term goals that you have. So I use a scorecard myself. Anyone can do this, but the idea of the scorecard is to make sure that it's forward-looking. So think if you're driving a vehicle, you want to spend the majority of your time looking through the windshield and not at the rearview mirror what's behind you. You've got to take an occasional glance at it, but really what's important is what's in front of you. Yeah. And so we look at the scorecard as, well, what does my gas gauge look like? Do I have enough gas to get there? What's my speed? Am I within the speed? Some of the new vehicles have a compass. Am I going in the right direction or whatever it is? But you want to have that forward-looking view of your business. So we encourage you to pick the metrics, the things that you want to measure that are forward-looking, that are going to be predictive of where your business is going. Instead of saying, well, I earned this much revenue last month. That's all well and good, but that's rearview mirror stuff. What are you doing today to get that revenue for the next week, month, quarter, whatever? So scorecarding, really, really critical. And it's described in depth there in Traction. And the second thing we talk about is making sure that you live in these 90-day increments. There is a lot of studies and data to back up that the human being needs a break every 90 days or so to reset, relook, readjust those priorities. And so we work with our clients, and you individually can do this. Set 90-day priorities. We call them rocks because it's the most important thing that you have to take on. So setting 90-day rocks, the 2, 3, 4 things that are the most important things for you to get done the next 90 days. And make sure that those get done and focus on those, because there'll be a lot of noise, a lot of stuff. And if you do all that, you're going to get distracted. But what do you actually need to accomplish in the next quarter to do that? So every quarter for myself, I set that saying, I have to do these things in the next 90 days. These are critical to me moving my business forward. And then we review them at the end of 90 days. We take a look backward, what just happened, and then we reset for the next quarter. So this 90-day look back, reset going forward, and this weekly scorecard allows you to get traction, get execution, and gives you some discipline that you may not have without some of these tools in place.
I love that. I think this book is going to be a book that is going on my list.
Good. Look, you're running a business as well. Yeah, you're running a business well. I mean, it's really worth taking a look at it. You're gonna pull some stuff. Now, once again, as I go back to the beginning, have an operating system. For me, it's EOS. I read the book, and it easily resonated with me. Like, okay, I can absolutely help people with this because it just all this stuff makes sense. I've been using it, even if not by the same name, for a long time. There may be another book that someone reads. That's cool too. Like I believe in one thing, but it doesn't mean that there's not great value in others. But find something, continue to be learning, be on that journey to mastery. Don't just get satisfied with where you are. Keep reading, stay curious, and find the thing that really resonates. I'm talking about scorecards and rocks. Someone may call them something different, but find those things that really work for you. That would be the takeaway that I have for anybody.
Brilliant. I think that's really important, and I love the 90-day thing because I do talk about quarters a lot. In fact, I have an episode every quarter where I do a reflection and a future awesome. Looking, so that to encourage my listeners to, like, it's that time of the quarter, what did you do last quarter, what you're going to do next quarter, to remind them. But to me, I've noticed it in a couple of groups I'm in on Facebook where they've gone, do you know what? A month isn't very long, is it? And it really isn't. A blink, and especially if you're a parent with children at home and you've got all of those things to go as well, it can really swallow up your time. And before you know it, the month's over, and you've only got to shove in, Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and all of a sudden, your month is a lot shorter than it was.
And if you're a solo business, but you're relying on others, well, they've got stuff relying on others for your business, right? If I've got to get something scheduled with a client, well, now I've got to take care of what's going on in their life and get that going on. So having this plan, being forward and just being really intentional about the actions you're taking and the work that you're doing, so that you do optimize the time, right? As someone out there solo, right now my inventory is my calendar. Right. So the time that I have in my calendar and how I choose to use it, right? That's what I have to offer. That's how I make money. That's how I share with others. That's where I take my free time from. But that's it. Right. And I've got to make sure that I protect it where I need to protect it and utilize it to grow my business where I can as well. So you got to have a plan. So being intentional is what we talk about quite a bit with some of these tools to gain traction and build execution, because it's super hard. And these are just a couple of things that you can fall back on to make sure you're staying the course.
Brilliant. So where can people find you if they want to know more, Scott?
Sure. A couple spots. I am on LinkedIn, and I try to put some content out there and share when I have a good conversation with someone. So that's Scott Goodrich -EOS. So you can find me there. You can always email me. That's scott.goodrich@eosworldwide.com. So you can find me there. And then the podcast has its own website, growyourdamnbusiness.com. And I've got all my links to places that you can find me there as well. growyourdamnbusiness.com. Easy to remember, and can find me there in all the episodes, as well as link over to my other stuff.
Brilliant. I shall make sure that all that is linked for you.
Now, thank you for doing that.
Before we jump off, I would love it if I can run you through my little quick fire round that I do with all my guests.
Do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it.
So you are the first one to answer that. I've upped it. It used to be 3 questions. It's now 4 questions. So we're going to have to do a quick rapid fire because it's going to take a bit longer. But the first one is, what is your favorite podcast to listen to and why?
So I love this podcast called The Rewatchables. I love movies and pop culture. And so this podcast every week releases an episode where the 2 or 3 people on the podcast rewatch a movie and then talk about it. All the casting what ifs and this storyline and what did it mean and how did this factor into that time of year or that movie release. And they'll go all the way back to the 70s and 80s. And so it's fun to go back through, and sometimes I'll watch the movie and then, I remember that episode and see it. And occasionally they'll do one that's one of my faves. So it's on the Ringer Podcast Network, which is, I think, now part of Spotify. Bill Simmons is the host. He's also a sports guy as well. So sports and movies, 2 of my favorite things. So The Rewatchables is well worth a grab and a follow there. And they've got probably 350 episodes. And so if you've got a favorite movie, they've probably talked about it. And just lots of fun.
Yeah. It sounds amazing. I'm absolutely putting that on my list because I was was a TV addict as a child. Okay. I could watch the Police Academy 1 through 6 back to back during the summer holidays. So yes. I'm here for it.
Yeah, if you've got some fun, it's good to get back at an hour and a half and take a break from things. They've done a couple movies twice that really impacted them. I have some similar tastes to the guys and the folks that hosted, so always resonates with me. So it's a fun one.
Brilliant. And what is the book that's made the biggest impact on your life so far?
Yeah, great question. So I mentioned traction. It's a big one. The one, though, that I would say that for me, just because I'm on my own and doing my own thing here, is a book called The Gap in the Gain. It's written by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. And it talks just a lot about mindset and understanding, particularly if you're out there on your own trying to figure stuff out, that you are actually moving forward each day. So give yourself credit for that. And so that's about spending time living in the game. Too often, many of us live in the gap, which is thinking about the negative things. What didn't I accomplish? Oh, I didn't land this client. Oh, I've had a slow month or a slow quarter. That's all gap stuff. And that's actually not helping you at all. So spend the time in the game. There's a couple quick exercises in there. Really just about the mindset and approach and things. And look, it's hard not to if things aren't going matchingly well to get stuck in the gap. And this is a few reminders that you actually do advance every day, even if it's something small. So be focused on that.
Yeah. That one's actually in my Audible library and I haven't started it yet. So I'm ahead of the game there. I'm ready to go with that one.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
What is your go-to favorite snack when you're in a hurry?
So for me, it's peanut butter on just all the time. Love peanut butter. Probably has more sugar than I should have at my age, but I can't help it. But I will always grab a peanut butter sandwich if I'm looking for something real quick. Just grab it and go. I actually add it to a protein shake as well, so I have it a couple times a day. But peanut butter seems to be my thing.
I am with you. I absolutely love the stuff, and I have the good stuff as well. I don't have the cheap rubbish stuff. It's like mostly peanuts and a tad of bit of oil, and that's it. And I love it. But the important follow-up question to that is smooth or crunchy?
Well, obviously smooth is critical. So always smooth. I actually found some that put a little dash of honey in with the peanut butter, which is just a fantastic combination. It's called the bee's knees. So it's got, I'm a big fan of the bee's knees peanut butter, and I actually order it by the case and they send it to my house. Guilty as charged on the peanut butter problem.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was going to say I need some shares in that stuff, I'm sure.
Yeah. If my order history is any indication, that company's doing just fine because I've got a lot of it at any time in my cabinet.
Love it. And my final question for you, Scott, which I always enjoy asking my male guests because it tends to be more of a female-led question. And so I always love your answers as guys to this question. What is your ultimate self-care thing to do?
Getting my hair done. No, I'm just kidding. Those kids. I don't have any hair. I own a haircut and color shop, and I'm a bald guy. So for me, it's hitting the gym. So I rarely miss a day, and I can actually go back to the date and time when I started this regimen about 15 years ago. I've always I dabbled in it before, but now I'm a little bit obsessive about it. But I don't miss too many days at the gym. So I start almost every day doing something, riding a Peloton, jumping rope, running around doing something or other. But that's just a good way for me to start my day. It gets my headspace right, gets it done. Do it before most wake up. When I had kids in the house, before they woke up, so it didn't bother anybody, and then I was ready to go, and gets my day started. So first start of the day, wake up, go do something.
Movement. Love it. Okay. That is brilliant. Thank you so much for your time today, Scott. It's been a fantastic conversation. I will make sure that everything is linked below for you guys so you can go and find Scott and connect with him. Great conversation today, Scott. Thank you so much for being here.
Donna, thank you for having me. Greatly enjoyed it.
I hope you agree. That was a fabulous conversation. Thank you so much, Scott, for coming on the podcast. It was an absolute pleasure to host you. Make sure you go over to his website, check out all his things, and make sure that you leave us a comment over on social. Go to his social, go to my social. Make sure that you share this episode so other people can get the goodness from it too. And I will be back with you next week. Bye for now. Don't forget to hit those stars and leave a review of the podcast where you listen if you found value in what you heard today. It's a free way you can help the podcast reach more people just like you.